What is up, vlog? It's your girl Diamond, aka Jaded Reads, here, back with another reading vlog. So we are about to start reading Beloved by Toni Morrison today. I actually already started, but not a lot. I'm only on page 3, 4. So I was like, okay, to be on page 4, let me go ahead and introduce the vlog. I actually had not decided yet if I'm going to combine this vlog with Their Eyes Are Watching God. I'm thinking that I will, honestly, because I just did the I'm here right now editing the January wrap up, and I had so much to say about Their Eyes Are Watching God on the January wrap up because I hadn't got a chance to get the camera out and talk about Their Eyes Are Watching God right now on here. So I'm thinking I might just go ahead and join Their Eyes Are Watching God and Beloved together. If I don't, I'll of course make a little segment, a little video and say that I did not. But anywho's, this is their this is gonna be the Toni Morrison Beloved vlog. So anyway, Beloved. So Beloved is Toni Morrison's most popular book, and it won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1988. And I have that copy here. Isn't it nice? I'm so excited. Hold on. So yeah, when was it published though? Hold on. Yeah, first published September 1988. I don't know what edition this is. Y'all know I'm a stickler for editions. I think that this cannot possibly be a first publishing, a first copy. It just says here first Plume printing, September 1988. I just don't know what copy I have. Anywho, Beloved is a ghost story. So Beloved is a story about a daughter hunting her mom, Setha, and I definitely said her name wrong when I was initially talking about Beloved in the books that I'm going to be reading for February. I called her Setna. I added an N. So take the N out and it's Setha. So the story is about Setha and her daughter Denver, and them living in a house that is being haunted. You find out that the house is being haunted by context clues on the first page, and it's just gonna tell the story of how or why this daughter is hunting her mother, and that's all I can just share for right now because I just started the book. So I'm sitting here, like I said, editing the January wrap up, and it actually just finished, but I'm going to now take it. I edit in 2 softwares. I use iMovie and I use CapCut because CapCut is like one of the easiest softwares to use, I think. But also I just can't take my hands off of iMovie because that is just OG for me. That is what I'm used to. So anyway, I just did the rough draft in iMovie. Now I'm about to do the final cut in CapCut, and then I'm going to upload that, and I'm going to make that live for tomorrow, February 1st. And then yeah, I'll update you guys about Beloved after that. So yeah, I just wanted to come and introduce the vlog because I started it. All right, sometimes it just feels like it's unofficial, like I'm unofficially reading if I haven't introduced the vlog yet. So yeah, but all right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey y'all, I'm back. I'm not calling you ma'am, I'm talking to the vlog. So we're here for a Beloved update. A boob action. But I'm in the bed. It's been a long day. I've been doing a lot of research for a video that I have coming up. But I have been reading also. I read a lot yesterday. So, Beloved is not actually broken up into chapters. I mean, it is broken up into sections, but it's not chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Sorry, excuse me. Burp. But I like to think I'm about on chapter 8. I have not been counting. So, this is actually my first initial chat about the book. So, we have 4 characters so far in the novel. I think that's all we're gonna have. So we have Setha. I was so loud and wrong. I called her Setna. It's actually Setha. So we have Setha. We have Denver, Setha's daughter. The main character is Setha. That's the mom. That's the matriarch of the family. Then we have Denver. Denver is Setha's, to her, only living child. She mentions her 2 sons who ran off. We don't know if they're alive or dead. So we just have Denver. Then Paul D comes along. Paul D was an acquaintance / a companion on the plantation Sweet Home, which is continuously referenced in the novel. And then we have Beloved. Beloved has come into the picture. Beloved is who the book is mainly about or centered around. It's centered around her. Okay, let's rewind. All right, so we have, this is post Civil War. I think it's about 4 or 5 or 7. 7 is popping out at me. I think it's 7 years post Civil War. And so Setha is free and she lives in Ohio. What part of Ohio, I have no idea, but it's definitely in Ohio. And she lives in a house, and she lives in a white 2-story home, which is like a great accomplishment for a former slave. And then she works for someone, but I don't know what she does, but in my mind, I'm thinking that she cleans. And then we have her daughter, Denver, who's very lonely and sad. And then Paul D comes along out of completely nowhere. So the thing with Toni Morrison that you kind of get in a lot of her stories, it's not magical realism at all, but it's kind of speculative in a way. The way that she talks about things, or it's like there's a specific type of way to describe Toni Morrison's writing style, and I just don't quite have the words, but if I could put it anywhere, it's in that speculative range a little bit. She definitely references like African storytelling in a sense. If you know what I mean by African stories and African storytelling, the main story that pops up at me is I can't even think of the story's name right now off the top of my head. By the next clip, I'll have it. But that's like her writing. I'm not calling it magical because it's not magical. It's more speculative. And so we have the story of this former slave, and it has not been explicitly stated as to what happened to her baby, but there's a reference to her baby girl's grave and her baby girl's, the headstone, and how it has, "Here lies my beloved." And so now what we're doing is putting 2 and 2 together, and now 2 + 2 = 4 to Denver. Denver has realized that this girl who has come into the picture all of a sudden is her dead sister, but Setha has not put it together yet, and this is what I mean. So if you know anything about Beloved, this is a ghost story. There at the beginning of the story, it's not a spoiler, even though I do spoil in my vlogs, but you'll find out that the home in which Setha and Denver live in is haunted. And it's so funny when Paul D comes into the house and he says, "Girl, what y'all got up in here? It's some evil in here." Like, that's exactly how he says. It's like, it's some evil in here. And then Setha says, "It's not evil. It's not bad. It's more so sad. There's a sad spirit in the home, more upset. There's something upset living here." And then she says, it's my daughter. So they know it's the baby, but we don't know why. I haven't figured out why Setha knows that her house is haunted by her baby by her baby daughter in the book yet. But since I have prior knowledge by seeing the movie, I understand what it is. But I don't want to talk about it yet because I haven't arrived at that point in the story. And it's just very interesting how, that's why I said it's more speculative, because it's a ghost story. But the way that Toni Morrison kind of like frames the sentences, and like how she's like weaving the story together, it's amazing to read it versus watching the movie. I must say, I'm very intrigued by the way she's telling the story. It's more powerful than watching the movie. And the reason why I say that is because there's now, I'm going to go through some of the tabs that I have put in the book. So now we can back off of, I want to back off of the fact that the story is a ghost story, and it's about a mother and her dead daughter and her living daughter and this man who's now in their life from Sweet Home. And I want to take it, and so now I want to take it just a step further now and talk about my perspective and what I'm taking away from the literature, the words, the story that Toni Morrison is actually telling alongside this ghost story. And that's the story of slavery, brokenness, and relationship, and trying to understand who you actually are. Because everything that you were, everything that you become is sort of has been placed on you by your oppressor. Paul D, Setha, even Denver, they know not who they are at all, because they have no heritage. Their heritage is slavery, being a slave. They can kind of trace their ancestry, but not for real. The feelings and emotions that they have as human beings, they don't know how to put words to those feelings. And it's all because you have been chatteled like cattle, and you have been whipped, and your manhood has been taken away from you. You've been all of these things to the white man. The white man has done all these things to you. You don't know what to do. You don't know who you are, and you just have to take things day by day. And that's the best words that I have right now. Although I have a lot of them, just can't put it in. I hope I'm making sense, but I can't put it into an actual frame right now. But the first thing that popped out at me was this analogy to the men. Let me just say, trigger warning for bestiality. Bestiality, but it's a metaphor. It is a, not a metaphor. It is I wrote down what it actually is that she's doing here. Hold on. I just been doing so much reading today. I don't know, my words I'm lost with them right now, but I have written it down. It's a literary device. The literary device of the sex with the calves. The sex with the calves is a literary device to equate slaves with cattle. So you could become taken aback when you read this portion of the novel. And this is what it says. And it speaks about, the part that I'm about to read speaks about Setha when she first comes to Sweet Home, and how the men had great self-control, because it is very common for women, for slave girls, to be raped by both the slaver and their own people, slaves. It's very common for the girls to have been raped. However, the slaver, the plantation owner at Sweet Home, used to brag on his slaves because he said that they were real men. What he meant by this, I'm still not sure, but I do think that one of the characteristics of that was being able to restrain or hold back or have sex with cows. I don't know if I'm right about that part, but I know I'm right about this part. So I'm going to go ahead and read this section. A stair step before him was Baby Suggs' replacement, the new girl they dreamed of at night and fucked cows for at dawn while waiting for her to choose. That can make anybody be like, what? Did slaves really have sex with cows? I don't think that that's true. That's a literary device of her basically equating slavery to being that of cattle. Slaves is cattle. So that had me thinking for a very long time. And I was like, let me look this up. Did slaves really sleep with cows? It still hasn't given a clear response, but I did find that that was a literary device Toni Morrison was using to like slaves to cattle. And so Paul D was one of the people that was waiting on Setha to choose. And she did not choose Paul D. She ended up choosing Hallie. And she married him, and all of her children are by Hallie. So now let's move on. Setha lay on her back. Ooh, y'all. The way that Toni Morrison talks about relationship in this novel, and how Paul D and Setha sort of kind of just got put together. Like they just decided, yeah, okay, we're gonna just be together. But there were no words exchanged, no emotions exchanged, no feelings exchanged. They even had sex, but leading up to the sex, it was a very dreamy, very intimate moment of him yearning for her, but it was more so just yearning for that physical touch from another person, because he had not had that in a while, and just honestly realizing or coming into the presence and recognition of someone that he knew in his past. All of those moments leading up to before they actually done the deed, it was very precious. But then she speaks of the reality and how both of their eyes were actually open after they decided, after they had done it. And so that part was very hard to read for a lot of reasons. I don't know if I'm gonna read all of that, but I am gonna read this. Setha lay on her back, her head turned from him. Out of the corner of his eye, Paul D saw the float of her breasts and Paul D saw the float of her breasts and disliked it. The spread away, flat roundness of them that he could definitely live without. Never mind that downstairs he had held them as though they were the most expensive part of himself. And the wrought iron maze he had explored in the kitchen like a gold miner, pawing through pay dirt. In fact, a revolting clunk of scars. Not a tree, as she said, maybe shaped like one, but nothing like any tree he knew, because trees were inviting things you could trust and be near. Talk to if you wanted to, as he frequently did since way back when he took the midday meal in the fields of Sweet Home. So that's her talking about the realization that Paul D had regarding Setha's looks and her body, and how she had basically been destroyed by slavery. He did not see those things before because he was itching and yearning for intimacy, but then after doing the deed, he woke up and realized, wow, this woman isn't as attractive, as I found her before I had sex with her. And she makes these connections between, or talks about the only thing that men of their statues, ex-slaves, black men at that time period, all they knew how to do was take you, use you up, and then throw you away and leave. And it's because of their fear, those fears that had been embedded and indoctrinated in them by their slave owner, by their master. And the reason why reading Toni Morrison is so emotional for black people, and I'm getting emotional now, is because she confronts what is real within our community, and she's been writing about it for so long. And I just feel like any black person should read her, because she talks about the things that are hard to talk about. She writes about them, and she does it in such a way that's so moving. It makes you realize one thing about yourself, but it's such a beautiful way to say it. I can't help but continue on reading, although it's painful and it's hard to confront or come up with those things. And so I'm glad they came back. I'm glad everything came back down. I feel all right. I'm fine. Listen, everybody, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's just, you know, this is what she does. This is what she does. This is what she does. And I'm continuously having reminiscent moments, or I'm reflecting just about what it means to actually be Black in America. And it's funny because I'm writing a script for a video on Blackness and how Black people attack one another on accident. They don't realize that that's something that they're doing because of their frustrations on being treated a specific way in America or online, trying to be content creators. They don't realize that there is an internalized white supremacy within them, and the type of language that they think that they're using to show inequality within the Black community is actually reverse, and you're actually spewing and speaking white supremacy to your own people. And that's basically what I feel Toni Morrison is trying to combat. Because one thing about her, and she spoke this all the time, is that she wrote purposefully, this is the Black experience. She didn't feel like she needed to mask the Black experience. She didn't feel like she needed to flower up what it was to be Black. She wanted to confront you with her Blackness. Toni Morrison's books are supposed to make you uncomfortable, whether you are Black and reading it or whether you are of any other nationality or race reading it. It's this confrontation. And one of Toni Morrison's, The Bluest Eye is a banned book. It is a banned book because of the messaging in it is really hard for some people to really read and understand and really grasp that this was a real thing. And that's why I loved her so much. You know, yeah, I hadn't read all of Morrison's work, but I've read a lot. And any interview I've seen a lot of her interviews, and I watched her documentary, and I love that documentary. I'm gonna watch it probably again tonight. It's on HBO Max, I think, or on Netflix now, but I initially watched it on Hulu. But anyway, it's a doozy. This book is a doozy. I want to read another quote because I just want to. No, I'm not going to read that one. She has a lot of metaphors. Sexual imagery is all up and through here, and I love it. I love every bit of it. All right, so let's do this one. They encouraged you to put some of your weight in their hands. This is me going back to what I said that she does as far as like the conversation surrounding what and all and only Black men knew how to do at this particular time period. And honestly, like I said, which was making me well up, is that it still is going on to this day. They encourage you to put some of your weight in their hands. As soon as you felt how light and lovely that was, they studied your scars and tribulations, after which they did what he had done, ran her children out and tore up the house. This is because that is all that they know how to do. Men they don't really know how to confront those feelings. They don't know how to talk about their brokenness. They don't know how to, they really struggle with that. And it definitely is systemic, and it comes from everything being ripped away from you way back during slavery times. You know, Black men were these gorgeous specimens, these beautiful creatures, and it is intimidating to look at when you are one way and then your slave or your master is dehumanizing you and taking your manhood away from you and making you feel like you have nothing to do, nothing at all left. You can't make any type of move without asking them or getting permission from them or them telling you what to do. How can you honestly expect to live a free life? It's almost like being in prison. There's this thing about men who have been in a jail for so long and then they get out. If they don't have constant support, if they don't have constant references to how prison kind of was in their normal life outside of that institution. They either do something to go back in or they commit suicide. That's a real thing. Expect anybody who has served like 10 years or more, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. They continue to do things to go back to jail or they commit suicide. So that's the thing that is referenced here in this novel, as well as it relates to Paul D. Paul D has been on the move since after the Civil War, and he doesn't stay put long enough to create new routines, partnerships, relationships. He doesn't stay put long enough for that, because he feels like if he stays put too long, the master, the shackles are going to come back and constrain him and take him back somewhere that he never wants to be again. But he sees that he possibly can have a life with Setha, and so he's trying it out. He's trying something new. But it's still almost along the lines of they're doing each other a favor, and it's not really love that's there. It's not really companionship that they're looking for. It's more so they're still in survival mode. I don't know. But I'm going to continue to read to gather my thoughts on this. But there's so many avenues and ways that we can go when reading Toni Morrison. And I challenge anyone to just take it a little step further, take it a little deeper. Put your empathy lens, put your empathy glasses on as you're reading her, and not think of it as something so difficult to get through. Because at the end of the day, it's like the critical race theory. Critical race theory is when you are pushing the idea of taking those rose-colored glasses off and just being thrust straight into what society was and why people are like they are today, and just basically addressing the issue and understanding that no one is one particular way, or it's not your fault that you are the way that you are. Everybody here in this earth right now in 2024, we are all here, especially Americans. We are where we are in life and in our mind, and because it's been indoctrinated in us, and that's the way we were raised and that's the way that we were taught. So critical race theory pushes you beyond that, makes you understand what really happened, why it happened, and how we can change things moving forward. And one of the authors of that can help you through that and can push you to do better and know better is Toni Morrison. And that is why you should read her. And that's the idea you should have within your head and in your heart as you're reading the stories, because none of it is fake. It's just like I said with Their Eyes Were Watching God. It's fiction, but it's real. It's fiction, but it's real. And the hardest stories to read are Black stories. But when you have a master like Toni Morrison, and the way that she decides to arrange this realness, it's wonderful. It's breathtaking. And so that's what I have for you guys right now tonight. I'm gonna read some more this evening, and yeah, I'm gonna read some more this evening and just push myself to continue on. I can't speed read this. I only can take it in chunks. At the most, I've only read 1 hour at a time, and that's just how it's working for me right now. So we're gonna have to take it light for the next read. What else we have over there? We're gonna probably do 7 Days in June next. We'll probably do 7 Days in June and Cast together. But yeah, so that's all I have for you guys tonight. Let me know if you like to see, what my day-to-day looks like, because I have a lot going on during my days, and I recognize that I have completely centered this channel around reading and the reading vlogs. I don't really talk about my life outside of books. So if you guys want real vlogs where I also talk about books in those vlogs, let me know, and I can definitely make that happen. Like doing my hair or going shopping or going to eat, or, how I plan out my video essays or stuff like that. Just let me know. But yeah, this is all I have for tonight regarding Miss Morrison. So I'll talk to you guys or see you right in the next clip. Okay. Oh, what is up, vlog? It's me. I'm back. It's a day and a half later from the last time I was talking about Beloved in the bed. And I have finished the novel. I finished Beloved. And what can I say? what can I say? Miss Beloved is a lot. This is a lot. This book is a lot to take in, okay? And honestly, I really don't want to misspeak about it. It's really easy to misspeak about a book, but then I think these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, and they probably will change over time, become more complex, a little bit deeper. I don't know, but I finished it last night. So I wanted to take a day, really midday-ish. I finished about 7 o'clock, and I wanted to take the night to just do something else. I did start a new book, but this one's lighthearted. Or not lighthearted, but it's light. Because this book is a lot. Okay, so I don't remember the last thing I really said, but I do remember, or we could just honestly go into Beloved coming in, right? So, of course, you guys know Beloved is the ghost of Setha's dead baby girl. So, Toni Morrison took inspiration from a true story, true events that happened regarding a slave girl named Margaret Garner. Margaret Garner was reprimanded, arrested for killing her baby, killing her children when she was found. She was a runaway. She was found. So instead of having her children go back to this inhumane, abysmal place, she decided she would rather take their lives herself. And she was arrested. But what happened was the courts didn't know what to charge her with. Was she going to be charged with murder or destruction of property? Because if she was charged with murder, I think what was said was they would have to admit that slavery was wrong. They would have to admit that this is something that just should not be. All the people around that were in charge would have to admit that. So it became this doozy of a trial, of a case, which I don't know the end result because I didn't do that much research. But I watched Toni Morrison Pieces I Am, or Pieces of Me, for the second time. And that's where I got that part from, which I already knew it, but it's most recently in my brain that Beloved is based on that. And Toni Morrison also spoke and said that that's all she took. She only took a newspaper clipping. She didn't go deeper into detail about the story. She doesn't truly know the story. She just wanted to take that piece, Margaret Garner, and make her own narrative about it. And that's what she did. So, of course, Setha murdered her 2-year-old baby girl. And she also tried to kill her 2 sons and Denver. But they survived. Beloved was the only one who died. And the story subsequently is that girl coming back to haunt her. And of course, one of the things that Toni Morrison said was, what's the main thing that you want to do? You're your mama's baby girl, prized possession, and she killed you. So you want to come back to life and you want to punish her. So that's all Beloved is doing here. This story is about a ghost girl who comes back to basically punish her mom for leaving her to death, to nothingness, in the ground, no one around, no one to love her, and she didn't even say goodbye. But it's so much more than just that. Okay, so let's get into it. You know, Toni Morrison packs this regular length novel, she packs a deep, gut-wrenching, heartfelt punch in almost every single line. This book took a little bit longer for me to complete, for it to not even pass 300 pages, and that is because it's so much in here that you can ponder on and write about and think about, and it's just hard to get through at times. You know, after 30 pages, sometimes I would have to take a break. And so that's that. So within this novel, you just have parts that you can't turn away from, you know? And it's like, this is not to speak on anyone in particular, but I've seen certain videos where, you know, people are like, I read Beloved, and they give this like really brief description of it. And it's just really like, really? You know, that's all you took from Beloved? Are you kidding? Are you joking? Are you serious? She talks about the nature of human beings. Hold on. I gotta talk about this. I'm reading from page 180. Trying to get to 124 for the second time now, he regretted that conversation. The high tone he took, his refusal to see the effect of morrow weariness in a woman he believed was a mountain. Now too late he understood her. The heart that pumped out love, the mouth that spoke the word, didn't count. They came in her yard anyway, and she could not approve or condemn Setha's rough choice. One or the other might have saved her, but beaten up by the claims of both, she went to bed. The white folks had tried her out at last. The white folks had tired her out at last. And him. 1874, and white folks were still on the loose. Whole towns whipped clean of Negroes. 87 lynchings in 1 year alone in Kentucky. 4 colored schools burnt to the ground. Grown men whipped like children. Children whipped like adults. Black women raped by the crew. Property taken. Necks broken. He smelled skin and hot blood. The skin was one thing, but human blood cooked in a lynch fire was a whole other thing. The stank up off the pages of the North Star, out of the mouths of whiteness, etched in crooked handwriting in letters delivered by hand, detailed in documents and petitions full of whereas and presented to any legal body who'd read it, and stank. But none that had worn out his morrow, none of that. It was the ribbon, tying his flatbed up on the back of the licking river, securing it best he could. He caught sight of something red on his bottom. Reaching for it, he thought it was a cardinal feather stuck to his boat. He tugged, and what came loose in his hand was a red ribbon, knotted around a curl of wet, woolly hair, clinging still to its bit of scalp. He untied the ribbon and put in his pocket, dropped the curl in the weeds. On the way home, he stopped, short of breath, dizzy, and he waited until the spell passed before continuing on his way. A moment later, his breath left him again. This time he sat down by a fence, rested. He got to his feet, but before he took a step, he turned to look back down the road he was traveling and said, "To its frozen mud and the river beyond. What are these people? You tell me, Jesus, what are they?" And after reading that, I'm like, did you read the whole book, or did you have to stop? Because one thing about Toni Morrison, she's going to confront you. That was the whole point. And she's just like me. I laughed. I started reading this Alice Walker book. Someone wrote and analyzed all of Alice Walker's work. It's wonderful. It's magnificent. I love it. But on the first page in the foreword, right here, the last paragraph, at the top it says, Toni Morrison once said that she wrote the types of books she wanted to read. I said just the other day in my January wrap up, when I was like, I'm not trying to plug myself, but if you want to hear more about what I have to say about this book, you should watch the reading blog. And I said, I just make the type of videos that I like to watch. And so I watch the type of videos that I like to make. And so sometimes in watching different people talk about Beloved, I feel like they didn't read the whole thing, because you couldn't possibly have read something this magnificent and this deep and this intricate and this much like prying into the history that was slavery and only have that little bit to say about it. That's all you have to say about it. You couldn't finish the book, because I don't know any other race, which race is a social construct. I actually don't believe in race, but I don't know what any other race, for the lack of a better word, that has gone through something this, for lack of a better word, this disgusting, and then someone to blatantly talk about in great detail, and it's not her imagination. This stuff is real. The things that they put us through is real, and so that's why I said had to sit with it. And now even reading that page, I still feel like I have to sit with it even more. But there are some good parts, you know, when Denver and Beloved and Setha are skating, or when they're having fun, joking, laughing. The highlight of Denver's life was when Beloved first came, because she was such a lonely girl. You know, all those things are embedded in there, but you know, for every good moment, there's going to be a crushing one that's going to follow, or one that came before that. So Toni just does a good job of the imagery in this novel, and speaking about the women and the men and the children and what they all went through during this time period, and also talking about love and resilience. You know, at one point in the novel, I felt like, okay, well, Paul D left. Paul D was liking Setha, but how Toni Morrison described that like that they had, I talked about it in the last clip when I was in the bed. It was more so like a tolerable thing. I can tolerate this. But in all actuality, that's all he's able to do. That's all he knows how to do, because this is a man that's still afraid to go back to where he's been. You know, that's a whole nother mental issue, a whole nother concept that he has to wrap his mind around. Can I stay here? Is anybody gonna come and get me? And this is what, 1873? Guys, you have to think, that's after the emancipation. But it was so much more injustices to follow, you know, and he's still just trying to wrap his mind around this little life. You know, the little song that's going on TikTok, I think I like this little life. You know, he's trying to get to that moment, and he can't. It's just, you know, it's just so much. You know, it's just, she does so many things here. She weaves. Whew, it's just a lot, y'all. Yeah, it's just a lot. So for Beloved, it deserved this. She deserved her Nobel. It's just this book is a lot. And I feel like if you're going to read Beloved, you should, of course, read the whole thing. You should go into it with large amounts of empathy in your heart. And I think you should also consider this as a piece. If you are of your race, or if you are of the ethnicity of Toni Morrison, Black, and if you are of any other race, I think you should consider this a piece of our history and take it as a little bit of an understanding of the internal issues that Black Americans and all other places, but mainly this is American history. Take this as a piece of history of Black Americans and what might still penetrate our minds and our souls today. It is something so true about what most of us possess in our hearts to this day, and it's based off of what we went through, what our ancestors went through during slavery time. It is ingrained in us. Self-hatred, internalized white supremacy, not understanding intersectionality and understanding that your Blackness is broad. Blackness is a spectrum, just like autism and any other mental illness, social condition. Blackness, there's so many aspects to being a Black person. But you have to understand that Black people have not been taught that. That is something that you have to seek out for yourself. Whether you do it through reading, finding videos, media, magazine, whatever. It's something that we aren't taught. You know, there's not really a lot of freedom in the Black community to be those things and do those things. So when you do see someone Black and of a different ethnicity, then that whiteness that is real and at the forefront of everything in this America, in this world. So when you do see someone stepping outside of that box and being something different and unique, I think you should clap and praise that, because that's just something, there's something leftist in that person. And they see for themselves that they can be and do these other things. And the more you praise that, the more you'll see that representation, instead of seeing that representation on a different ethnicity and just looking at it and giving it the side eye. You know that didn't come from them. You know that that's not that. But because of this, what this book talks about, a mother murdered her 2-year-old baby because she could not see or stand for someone to take her child and make her child do and be these things that she experienced in her life. So she had to make a decision quick and fast. And the thing is, she tried to kill all of them, all 4 of them, because she couldn't have them. She couldn't stand to have them not know themselves. There's a quote that I want to read. This is how, you guys, this is how you need to think. You need to read Morrison critically. If you're not reading her critically, what are you doing? You need to understand, you need to take in everything that she's saying. It's not fiction. It's the same thing that I said about Their Eyes Were Watching God. This is not fiction. This is American history. And this is, to me, the stories in this book are censored. They're completely censored. If you don't think we went through worse, who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? If you don't think that Black Americans went through worse. So I have notes here, and I want to read this one quote to you guys. It's an abstract from a research paper that I read. The research paper is entitled "An Oreo Ain't Nothing But a Cookie: An Analysis of Identity Struggles in African Americans in Desegregated Public Schools from 1950 to 1968. But the abstract comes from a book. I'm gonna have to find the book, but it says Powell 1973. So I'm pretty sure if I put this quote into and do that, I'll figure out where it came from. But here's the quote. It is not just the white man who does not know the Negro's name. However, the Negro does not know either. The controversy over name is bound up with the most fundamental question of identity, the flight from blackness, the hatred of self, the yearning to be white. It's so real. And then this paper speaks on the whole Oreo effect and why certain Black people are called Oreos. Oreo means black on the outside, white on the inside, you know. And you can go into a whole other, you can go into your own deep dive about that. I'm not going to talk about that, but just that quote alone, understanding, this will tell you what Paul D was going through, what Baby Suggs was going through. Baby Suggs had to get off the plantation and step into her freedom, in which her son Hallie bought for her to realize. There's a portion of the novel, a point in the novel where she realizes that she has a beating heart and that her hands are her hands. These are mine. These belong to me. You know, it's hard. Like it's hard to imagine. Baby girl, when I tell you I can't even situate myself in the mindset to think like a slave, I will die the first day on the plantation. That's how much I'm an individual. That's how much I won't let anybody run me. On my soul, I'm gonna die the first day. Oh yes, because I can't fathom that. Even now in today's age, I think I have a problem with authority. You know, I can't possibly have anybody trying to boss me. I can't. At this particular phase of my life at 31, you can't boss me. You know, that's how I'm thinking and feeling. So I just can't fathom that. And then these people went through that. You know, I urge you, I implore you that if you have not read this, or when you decide to read it again, give it your all. Give it some time. Go into it with understanding. This is the most spectacular novel ever. It's hard to read. It is hard to read. Literally and figuratively. It's hard to read. There's lots of things that you can take away from it. Let me tell you something. Almost every page means something else. Almost every line, almost every quote, she's trying to really tell you something else. So look at it like that, you know. Take yourself to college a little bit in your own mind. Teach yourself. And understand that this is real life stuff that she wrote about. The struggle is still real for Black Americans. And it's mainly because of this, because of slavery. Slavery fucked us up mentally. There's this whole disdain for who you are. I love who I am. I'm happy to be black. I think I'm really beautiful. I think I'm gorgeous inside and outside. But I still face so many things that I refuse to give life to because my God is real. My source is telling me that I am and I can do and be anything that I want to be, but the world does say different. So if I buy into what the world is telling me, if I really buy into that, I'll never be able to do the things that I truly want to do. But I'm so beyond that. I'm so beyond that, and I'm excited for what's to come for me. And I'm happy as hell that I finally read this book. I'm so happy because it does nothing but give me more drive and pushes me towards that. It's pushing me towards that. And the excellence that is Toni Morrison also makes me want to go harder with this, you know? It makes me want to really push it. And if you think for a second that your fave author of another ethnicity did not admire Miss Toni Morrison, did not study her, you're sadly mistaken. Blueprint. And don't get me started on Miss Walker. I'm getting my life this February. You know, there's like little shady comments here and there. Oh, you should read black authors all year. Baby, I do read black authors all year, but this is the month. We only get 1 month. This the month too where you gotta emphasize that shit. Okay? So that's all I have to say. That's the end of this vlog. I'm so glad that you made it to the end. If you did make it to the end, if you made it to the end, give me a blue heart. Okay, give me a blue heart because I got on blue today. But anyways, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for letting me express myself and all of the things that I think and say without having to second guess myself or without having to censor myself, because I am an individual at the end of the day, and I hope that you will be one as well. Thank you so much for being here once again. I'll see you guys in the next upload. Deuces.